Hello again and welcome to this second part of the introduction to the 3D World Studio package. Now we will take a look at the Vertex editing facilities made available. To begin, we need to create a box and click the Select Vertex button or press the C button on the keyboard. Now here we have white boxes on the vertices, yellow boxes on the edges. This is also true in the 3D viewport. If I select a yellow box in one of the 2D viewports, all underlying edges are also selected. In the top view here, I have clicked once on the top edge, and 3D World Studio has also selected the bottom edge. So if I drag with the mouse button with the cursor on the handle, the object is resized. This is quite a handy method for manipulating small parts of large complex objects. The edge select mode is effective if you have the grid set to a appropriate setting. More on the grid later on. If I select a edge in the 3D viewport, it will select just one, and if I drag it, that particular edge is transformed. Next, the white boxes, which represent vertices. If I select the vertex box in the top view and drag, it will adjust the entire edge also. This is because the 3D World Studio knows that below this top vertex, the bottom vertex is aligned in the same plane on the y-axis. Therefore it selects both of the edges, both of the vertices, thus the edge is selected, and any operations made will affect the entire edge. Usually you'll go into the 3D viewport and select your vertices there. If I select the vertex and drag now, then we are operating as desired on a single vertex. Now there is an issue that you need to know about. That is the issue with the shapes. The 3D World Studio program will work best if you keep all of your edges, all of your faces facing away from each other on the same object. This is a system where the object is convex in nature. If I drag this edge inwards, all the faces are currently more or less facing out. However, you'll soon see that there is rather ugly looking deformation going on here, unless you want something to look really ugly. And yeah, okay, we don't want that to happen in real case situations. Right, so we'll undo that by keeping the objects in a convex form. In convex form, we'll be able to avoid situations like that. Concave objects are a big no-no. To avoid creating such distorted deformations, the 3D World Studio makes use of the brush, which is basically a cube that can be deformed into many different shapes whilst keeping its convex form. More on that later. For now, we will go back into the vertex editing mode by pressing the C key on the keyboard. Next, we will do some work on the front view. I will select the vertex on the top right. Now as you can see, it is dragging the edge here. If I select this one, it drags the one here, and on the side view there is also a lot happening. So let's remove this object and select object mode with the Z button on the keyboard, and then press the delete key, create a new box. Okay, back into Vertex editing mode. Now what if I want to select an object on the front view without selecting the entire edge? Or you can simply select the edge on the 3D viewport. I believe the front view is right here. In fact, it's right here, yes. Now if I drag, only that vertex moves with my mouse. If I did not select it in the 3D viewport, 3D World Studio will drag both vertices on the edge, thus moving the entire edge, as you can see taking place here. So there we have it. We have a lot of things we can do with the vertices. Now this might seem quite boring for people who have a 3D modeling background, because this is not really anything spectacular. You got vertex editing tools pretty much in every 3D package. However, it's good to understand how 3D World Studio deals with vertices and edges. You cannot drag each of the control points in the 3D viewport. The 3D viewport is exclusively only for selecting the vertices, particularly when you only want to select a certain set. To select multiple control points, you simply hold down the control key as you click, and there you can drag your selection in one of the 2D viewports. Now let's work on something a little bit more interesting. We'll go into object mode and delete this deformed cube, and we'll go over to the object category window. Here we have solid selected, so that's fine. The object that we will pick next is the wedge. I will go into the front view and create the wedge here. As I hold down the mouse button, I have a box displayed. However, this represents the size of the wedge. When I let go of the mouse button, the object is created and is the same depth of the previously selected object. So therefore, if I select an object and create a new one, 3D World Studio remembers the size of the previous selected object and thus applies that size to the new object. I will reduce the depth of this wedge and create a new wedge in the front view to see this taking place. Therefore, there's no need to have to put too much work into telling the software how large you want something. You can just simply click and draw. It knows that I want the object to be the same depth of the previously selected object. Now, more on the actual vertex manipulation. Vertex manipulation is available on wedges also. We can move each of the vertices as we can do with the cube. We can move the edges also. We'll play around a little bit. Playing around is very good. If you have the software, just make use of your time and play around with all the tools and test them out and see what each setting does and find out what kind of thing they can achieve. Here we're going to play around with the cylinder with its default setting. Here we have a very complex, probably one of the most complex singular objects you can play around with. In vertex mode, we see here we have loads and loads of vertices. Very confusing to look at, as you can see. All of the boxes all the same size. Sometimes with vertex dense scene it can be very confusing, so it's handy to have this large screen view so you can go in there and select particular control points. So let's select a few up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll press the F12 key and I'll play around with the selected edges. Okay, now we're going to get into something that requires more than one object. So we go into object select mode and delete the deformed cylinder. We go back to box mode and create a box over here, and the box didn't quite select the box. A bit of a laggy situation taking place here on my screen capture. Try again, shall we? Excellent. Now let's get this into view. My view is kind of off balance at the moment. Anyway, the important thing is I can see the objects. Let's see where I am. It's difficult to tell where the floor is when there is no floor. Right. Now we can also edit meshes, sub-objects in wrong button, sub-object mode. We can select more than one object and edit the sub-objects. We can do the same with vertices. Here we have two separate objects and all the vertices are in select mode. If I go back to object mode and create another object, we can see that we can work independently of the outer scene. If I select the vertex that are lined up with the edge of both objects, I will end up deforming both objects at the same time. We can also multiple select using the control key. As you can see, this is creating quite a nice effect, all with just two boxes. Now we will work with a few more complex objects. We'll go to the cone object and create it in the center of this viewport. Let's just click anywhere and press the W, S and A and D keys to move the view around. And now let's create this cone and go into vertex mode. Now there's one vertex at the top which we can select right here and move around. Take a little closer look at that. Now you can see here the texture isn't quite aligned nicely because we're working in a world coordinate system. Any faces that are not, for the most part, horizontal will cause 3D World Studio to align the texture to the vertical axis. So you can see if I return the center point of the comb, the texture is also returned to its horizontal rotation. But there are ways to correct these issues using the sub-object edit mode that we discussed in the earlier video. Next object, the torus, which is generally a cylinder with a hole in the middle, handy for creating tunnels, big sewage pipes, and all sorts of round shaped things. Again, cylinder shape has many. In fact, this is a lot more complex than a cylinder. However, this is not really one object. I'll show you how we can see. We go back into the 4 views and we'll select the sub-object mode, and then I'll press the Z key to go into object mode. As you can see, the torus is actually a series of brushes, a series of boxes generated to form the overall shape of the torus. Therefore, it is actually multiple shapes aligned together in a group. Now, a little bit of vertex editing. I will select in fact I'll use the edges. I'll select oops. Now you got to be careful when you use this size grid, which we'll talk about grids a little bit later on, just a little bit later on. When you click on the edges, I've let go of my control, I've clicked the wrong one there. When you click on the grid with a large size, 3D Studio will align the selected faces to the grid, so be careful. Now let's drag these edges around. Now if we go to the top view, we can see that one part of the torus is larger than the other. Okay, now we will delete these objects. We can select them all by pressing the shift key, clicking and dragging a box and selecting them and pressing the delete key. Okay, next we will select the arch. We'll create it in the top view, so the arch faces you. If we create it in the front view, the arch will face you also from the front view. Going to vertex select mode, and here we can manipulate the edges and vertices. As with the torus, this is actually a group of boxes deformed, a group of wedges in fact, deformed to form the shape of the arch. As you can see, you can create some interesting medieval looking arches and architectural shapes with this handy arch tool. In the next part of the tutorial, we'll discuss the rest of the menus and some of the buttons. Until then, take care.